Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is John J Gaming on the mic here, coming at you with a brand new episode of the Realignment Dynasty here on NCAA 14, featuring that college football revamp, of course. And we are out here, man. We just finished up our regular season. It was a solid first year, man, given the amount of talent that did end up leaving this program. We did come into a 12-2 squad, but we still finished pretty well. 8-4 overall. That ends up being our record for the regular season. And now we're going to find out some things here today. We are going to find out what bowl game we're going to be going to. But more importantly, and y'all probably figured this out from the title of this video, we're going to see some of you guys as custom prospects. We're going to see them in various bowl games and maybe a college football playoff. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. Plus, check out and see if some of your prospects at the high school level, did they sign on the dotted line for the big time college football, man. So I hope you guys are really excited for this video, and if you are, make sure you go ahead, smack that like button, hit that subscribe button as well if you do happen to be brand new. Let's go ahead and jump into it, starting with the 8 teams that are going to go to the college football playoff. So now we go ahead and see the 8 teams that will be a part of that college football playoff. And this is what we got going on. The number 1 seed going to UCF, undefeated, and they've been here before representing the Deep South Conference. There is more than one undefeated team though that goes to Kentucky, who is the champions of the Mid-American Conference, so they get that number 2 seed. And number 3 is actually where we came from before taking that head coaching job at Michigan State, Oklahoma. They got the 3 seed, and they will go up against Texas A&M, who is also from that same conference, that is the Southwestern Conference. Then rounding out the top 4, we got USC from the Pac-12, who will play against Auburn from the Sun Belt Conference. And then the last 2 teams that do end up making it to the college football playoff, the number 7 seed being the LSU Tigers from the Sun Belt Conference, and then Clemson, even though they did not go to the conference championship game, they will get the number 8 seed in this tournament, and they will be representing for the Mid-Atlantic Conference. So now these are the 8 teams that will be playing for that national championship. And with that out of the way, let's go ahead and take a look at your guys' custom prospects who are starting in various bowl games and college football playoff games around the country. So we go ahead and jump right into the first custom prospect game that we do have here in this episode, as got the Florida State Seminoles taking on the Tennessee Volunteers. And, you know, 2 teams that are definitely built a little bit differently. Florida State got a couple of your custom guys, including but not limited to Latrell Jefferson and Ricky Spurlock over on that defensive side of football, whereas Hollywood Jackson does end up starting for the Volunteers at that time in position. And speaking of Latrell Jefferson, not only is he going to go ahead and get that interception as well, but Jefferson is also going to take this thing all the way back to the crib. And Jefferson is going to go ahead and get the first points on the board here in this Duke's Mayo Bowl. As now Tennessee trying to get into the end zone for the first time today, but Latrell Jefferson, he does end up standing them up there. Tennessee will end up scoring on that drive, but still a really good play there by the sophomore. Actually, no, I believe junior redshirt at defensive back. As we continue through the rest of this game late in the first half, as Jefferson's going to throw one over the right hand side, and he almost has a second interception. He has his eyes on the quarterback. He will not be fueled easily, and just doing everything here for this Florida State football team, that's for sure. You know, not only helping in that pass coverage, got that interception, got that deflection as well, but he's coming to provide some run support, which is really critical when playing a team like Tennessee. They, love to run that football very often, as now it's a 12-point game here. Jefferson not only plays defense, he also is taking place in the special teams as well and makes a play on special teams. But that being said, though, Florida State is going to go ahead. They are going to win the Duke Mayo Bowl in what was a pretty exciting game to watch overall, as the Florida State Seminoles are going to actually end up beating the Tennessee Volunteers by a final score of 38-26 in this one. So Florida State, they get to come out on top. Both defensive starters, we saw them play, not necessarily record stats. Hollywood Jackson, we'll see what happened to him. Saw is going to come out on top here in the Duke's Mayo Bowl, but let's go ahead and check out a couple of customs that were featured in the game. Latrell Jefferson was playing on the defensive side of the ball. The senior from IMG Academy had himself a solid little day today. 5 tackles, a TFL, and an interception to go with his name as well. However, we did not see Ricky Spurlock make any plays, despite the fact that he was listed as a starter for this Florida State defense. As for Hollywood Jackson, the freshman out of Akron, ends up with being basically a non-factor in this game. Only ends up with 1 singular catch and 4 yards in this game. We'll see if he ends up with any blocking stats, and it looks like he did not. So the true freshman was a minimum impact here in this bowl game. But now we go ahead and jump into the next custom prospect game that we do have going on, and that is the Cheez-Its Bowl that we got going between Eastern Michigan and the Hurricanes of Miami, coming from that Deep South Conference. Gonna be an intriguing matchup for sure. Eastern Michigan got pretty good rushing attack. They ranked number 11 in big time college football over the course of season number 4, but we are keying in on one custom guy and one custom guy only, and that is Mohamed El Bassa, who is a true junior coming to this game. And we will go ahead and see if he does end up declaring for the NFL draft or not. But that being said, though, Mohamed El Bassa getting a little bit involved here early, already has a couple of catches. And this one, he just needs that touchdown, and he's going to get exactly that, a 26-yard scamper. That'll help the Miami Hurricanes set up a pretty convincing lead here early, a very commanding lead here in the Cheez-Its Bowl. They take a 21-7 lead here as we get in. We still are in the first half, by the way. This is his 4th target, and El Bassa, he's going to make that catch once again, but will be stopped a little bit short of the marker, though. But not much happening in that second half, but it ultimately doesn't end up necessarily being that necessary, as the Miami Hurricanes, they do end up winning the Cheez-It Bowl, and what did end up being a little bit closer of a game than what was originally anticipated. But Miami Hurricanes, they do come out on top, as they haven't cracked the top 25 at the end of the season in the past few years, but they have done a good job of winning these bowl games. Now, Mohamed El Bassa, and to conclude his junior campaign, did have a solid performance. He ends up with 5 catches, 51 yards, and a touchdown grab in this one, as the Canadian product going to South Beach continues to prove that he is an NFL prospect worth watching out for. So going from one offensive custom prospect to another offensive prospect, we go down to the Texas Bowl out here in Jerry's World right now, as we are going to see the Kansas State Wildcats go up against Carl Jefferson, the custom prospect who is the starting quarterback, and play with this Rutgers squad, man. As you see, the lockdown defense by both teams, who are just about even in that regard. We'll see if Carl Jefferson can be the difference maker, but we jump into late in the first half here. It's been a pretty quiet day overall for Mr. Jefferson, but finally gets a big throw downfield over to Mike Burns. He'll create some yardage, but trying to lead a last-minute drive here to create momentum going into halftime and putting together a masterful drive here in this ball game. And just got to go ahead and make sure you cap it off. And sure enough, Carl Jefferson is going to go ahead and do just that. He's going to get a rushing touchdown. No late flag, though, even though he definitely was absolutely pulverized a couple seconds after he got into that end zone. But you already know NCAA 14, they don't really call that. But he really starts finding a groove in that second half, though, as he throws it out to Maxwell. And Maxwell, he's all by himself, and that creates a ton of yardage out there. And he was the type of quarterback, it was not a great day by any means for Carl Jefferson, but the man did do what he needed to do in order to make sure that his team did end up winning the ball game, being a game manager. And that's not always such a bad thing, just making sure that he's not the reason why they lost this game. And Rutgers is going to go ahead, come out on top. They win the Texas Bowl here against Kansas State, and doing so convincingly that he actually got pulled so that the backups can actually go ahead and get a little bit of playing experience for the future. But even though Rutgers does end up winning the bowl game, Carl Jefferson was not as impressive as what we would expect. 15 for 30, 239 yards. Did throw a touchdown pass off screen, but he did throw 2 interceptions as well. Not to mention he did end up having negative rushing yards as well, although he does end up also contributing a touchdown on the ground. But now we go ahead and shift over from the offensive side of the ball, now going over to the defensive side of the ball, as we have a former SEC matchup here for this next bowl game. We got the Guaranteed Rate Bowl that has the Missouri Tigers take on Vanderbilt. Yes, the same Vanderbilt that is constantly memed, constantly degraded, because their football probably one of the worst, if not the worst, Power 5 football programs in the country. But Vanderbilt, they are here, at least in the video game world, in a bowl game against Missouri. They did hit that 6-win mark, as now we'll see if Screenshot James can have what it takes to go ahead and hold things down against the Missouri defense. And how about this? Nice play there by the Screenshot, and he is going to go ahead and have his guys get at least, show how to go about, winning this bowl game. A lot of these guys on the roster have never experienced bowl action. And Screenshot James, I thought he was going to be able to intercept that football, but I guess, that linebacker 40-inch vertical cheese, y'all know what I'm talking about for those of you that have actually played this game. I guess that only applies to the CPU, but we will make up for it later on in the first half, as James is able to really make an extremely nice over-the-shoulder catch. That was extremely impressive, especially for a linebacker, as well as James is going to go ahead, wrap up this quarterback as well. He was originally guarding that tailback, but he stayed in the backfield, so he just kind of ended as a spy, and hey, things worked out for him for sure, as Rich Hill is going to try to take off once again, and Screenshot is there to make sure that he does not get too many yards, as he now has 5 tackles, 1 TFL on the day so far, as it looks like he might be getting a little bit more here, as this quarterback continues to get scrambled. We're not, this defensive coordinator, man, not calling the best plays. I'm expecting them to call a spy, since his quarterback is killing them a little bit on the ground. And keep in mind, these are highlights for the custom player. So if I'm noticing that from a different player's highlights, you guys definitely have to know that that is a little bit of an issue for sure. But Screenshot is certainly still doing his thing right now. He's going to get another TFL. He's going to get them to a 3rd and 5 as they call a quarterback draw. We can't get there in time, although the Screenshot once again is going to go ahead and make the tackle. And even though it has been a really good performance for this Vanderbilt linebacker. It still doesn't change the fact that this team is going to be absolutely blown out to smithereens, as this team, they lose big here in the Guaranteed Rate Bowl. But Vanderbilt, Vanderbilt showed out, man. They showed out for sure. This ends up being the player of the game. We were asked to blitz, so that took us out of the play. So that's definitely a tough pill to swallow. But even though his team didn't win, he ended up having a really nice game, though. But even though Vanderbilt got absolutely crushed in this bowl game, Greenshot James in his final career game was a bright spot for this defense. Ends up with 14 total tackles, 13 solo, 2 TFLs to go with it, and also the IMG Academy product also ended up with an interception. So it was a good game for Greenshot James. Unfortunately, though, his team cannot pull out the victory. So you want to talk about a game that has a ton of custom prospects? This bowl game right here, the AutoZone Liberty Bowl, certainly fits the bill. We got the Nebraska Cornhuskers taking on the number 21 ranked Penn State Nittany Lions. And this game features 4 custom players, 3 of which who are on Penn State's football team. We got Dakotas Everett and Ben Swerve, who both play on the offensive side of the football, and both play quarterback as well. So I imagine one of them might transfer. We'll see what ends up happening to Dakotas Everett. But in the meantime, Ben Swerve, he's going to make a nice read over on the left-hand side, and that will give the Nittany Lions their very first touchdown today, and he's off to a hot start. 5 of his 6 passes do end up being completed, but that's not all. Nas Evans, he's a linebacker, true freshman for Penn State. He's also on this team event on Nebraska's side of the football, or Nebraska's sideline. They got Chase Gunner, the son of TCU defensive coordinator Nick Gunner. So that's a little bit of a note there, as this quarterback, he actually has all day to throw to get this thing, but Nas Evans is going to blow things up there, and Nebraska is struggling to get their offense going. But Ben Swerve is feeling himself right now. He is going to throw an absolute rocket right down the sideline. He's going to find Sean Hall in the back of the end zone, and it is yet another touchdown for the Nittany Lions right there, as it's a 24-0 lead that this thing grows to. It's been a really convincing performance for Penn State, and they're going to keep this thing rolling. Swerve has been really on target this entire game so far. Already over 200 yards and 2 touchdowns there. And that was through just one half. And the scary thing about him is that he did not originally came in as a passer. He was more of a scrambler when he came out of high school. The native Hawaiian, as that was actually Chase Gunner's only catch of the day, really. At least his only notable catch. It was a rough game for Chase Gunner, but it was also a really rough game for really the entire Nebraska team, as Penn State, they're going to win absolutely convincingly in this one. It was a massive blowout, and it seems like Penn State, they were completely in control, it seems like, the entire time, as Penn State, they will come out on top. I believe it ends up being a 37-20 kind of game. A dominant performance, though, for this Nittany Lions. So for the losing team to start things out, Chase Gunner, who is listed as the #1 wide receiver for this Nebraska Cornhusker squad, he actually was shut down for the most part here today. 2 catches, 16 yards. I don't even think he did anything. He did not do anything in that rushing game either. It was a slow day for the son of the defensive coordinator from TCU. But as for the quarterbacks, though, both custom player quarterbacks actually saw some action. And Ben Swerve, he was the starter and looked fantastic in this game, really. 22 for 26, 253 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Did see a little bit of Dakotas Everett as well, the true freshman. He also threw, 2 for 3, 13 yards, no big deal. Neither custom player on the offensive side of the ball, however, find the end zone on the ground. Now, Penn State also has a third custom player who happens to also be a true freshman, and that is Nas Evans, sporting from Memphis, Tennessee. He ends up, contributing to this Penn State squad in their AutoZone Liberty Bowl victory, as he ends up with 2 tackles as well and a TFL on top of it. Now, before we go ahead and dive into the college football playoff action, at least the quarterfinals of it, let's go ahead and check out what's going on the recruiting end, as one of your guys' custom prospects did end up signing on the dotted line since the last time that we checked. 4-star defensive end KJ Jackson, hailing out of Tucker, Georgia, is going to stay in the state of Georgia. The Peach State getting the 4-star commit to sign with the Georgia Bulldogs. He did also have a couple of scholarships, not only to the University of Florida, but also had interest in joining the military as a Naval Academy guy. But he is opting to play his college football at the University of Georgia instead. But what is a custom prospect special without a little bit of college football playoff action here, as a couple of your guys' custom prospects did actually go ahead and make it to the national championship game, or not the national championship, but the national playoffs to determine who does win that national championship game. As we go ahead, we got some things rocking and rolling here, as we get Texas A&M here taking on the defending national champions Oklahoma in the first round. And Oklahoma is actually where we came from prior to taking that Michigan State job. But that being said, Texas A&M, they got a couple of custom guys. Not only they got Seth Randolph starting on the outside, but Zeke Lightning, not a starter yet, but he has been contributing for this Aggies football squad on defense, as both of these guys early on are going to go ahead and make some good plays, and they're going to need plenty of those, as Texas A&M, they already know, as they are both from the same conference in this post-COVID realignment dynasty universe. They're both part of the Southwestern Conference, so they know from playing them in the regular season that they're no joke. But Zeke Lightning is going to go ahead and get the tackle that is going to prevent the first down ultimately, as that will help Texas A&M really start to pull away. It really starts to become a blowout in the second half, and that is thanks to this defense. They really brought their A game, and of course that offense doing more than just enough to win this ball game, as Seth Randolph, he's going to go ahead and get himself yet another tackle, as Texas A&M, they are actually going to go ahead. They will win the quarterfinal matchup against Texas, or not Texas, but Oklahoma. So now what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and see who Texas A&M is going to play up against next. It would be the winner of Kentucky and LSU, 2 opponents that used to be a part of the same SEC conference. So needless to say, this Texas A&M defense was absolutely shut down, and they have a budding duo that should be around for the next couple of seasons. Seth Randolph is the better of the pair, as the sophomore redshirt from Memphis, Tennessee, ends up with 6 tackles, 6 of which were solo, and 3 TFLs as well. But we also saw a nice contribution from one of the role players on this team, sophomore Zeke Lightning, hailing from Orlando, Florida. He ends up with 2 tackles in this one, including a TFL that got Oklahoma off the field. As for the other 3 top college football playoff matchups, what we do end up seeing is UCF, the number 1 seed in the college football playoff. They take care of business against the Clemson Tigers, who were the number 8 seed. UCF, they do win their quarterfinal matchup, and we'll see who they get to go up against in that semifinal. And it looks like UCF is going to play against Auburn in the semifinal of the college football playoff, as they beat USC 45-28, the Auburn Tigers pulling off the slight upset. And then the other college football playoff game that we did not see due to the lack of custom recruits, is this 7-2 matchup. It was a slugfest on defense, but the Kentucky Wildcats are able to pull it off with a third quarter touchdown, winning 17-13, which means Texas A&M, Zeke Lightning, and Seth Randolph is going to be playing up against Kentucky in the semifinal, and we'll see those highlights in the next episode. Speaking of that next episode, we did indeed get invited to a bowl game as well. We are going to the Armed Forces Bowl. We played a lot of Armed Forces Bowl. We played in like 2 with Troy already in this series, man. But an 11:30 kickoff in the morning, so it's going to be interesting to see how our guys prepare for that as we take on the Western Michigan Broncos in the next episode, where we have to prove Lee Corso wrong because he's choosing them to pick the upset. You already know I feel some type of way about that, so let's see if we can go ahead and prove him wrong. But in the meantime, though, I hope you enjoyed today's custom prospect special, and if you did, make sure you go ahead, smack that like button for me, hit that subscribe button for me as well if you do happen to be brand new. This is John J. Gaming on the mic signing off. I'm hoping you're all out there having a good one. Take care, everybody.